what would you estimate is a conservative estimate of the total amount of revenue that you have sold for all these companies collectively so far, like a ballpark figure?
A ballpark figure would be around 100 million.
We're here with Daren, who is basically Google Ads, or rather former Google staff for 7 years
Yes.
in Google Singapore, or rather Google Asia Pacific. And I think we really have the opportunity and the luxury of having Daren to walk us through what it's like, handling enterprise accounts at Google Ads. And then your experience really kind of like running a sales team, training a sales team on how to close like enterprise clients or keep them retained and keep them happy. So welcome to the channel, Daren.
Thank you for having
I
me,
think
Jim.
maybe let's kind of do a little bit of a background of like, what was your journey like, right? So can you like walk us through your journey at Google?
Yeah.
And how do you start and what has kept you really running for that full 7 years period at Google?
I joined Google because I was working in LinkedIn before that. So my friends in LinkedIn joined Google and referred me. A lot of tech companies, referrals are a big source of hiring. So make sure you find good friends in many companies you want to work for to refer you. I first joined Google in 2016 now. So I was in Google for 3 roles. My first role there was all along was in the advertising business, which is about 80% of Google's business.
Nice.
My first role was a hunting role. That means new business sales. We look for new customers. I focus on Malaysia market. And in that role, it was just prospecting. We define it as anyone who hasn't really spent much in Google Ads yet.
Right.
So it doesn't mean it's just a small company. It could be very big, like large government agencies that haven't started their Google advertising journey. So that was my first role, hunting. I did that for about 2.5 years. Then I got promoted and moved into enterprise sales. So these are all big customers like Singapore government, consumer goods companies like Nestle, P&G, Unilever, and also retail customers like Nike, Courts, these kind of customers.
Right.
And then after 2 years there, I moved into my last role in Google, which we call sales enablement.
Okay.
It's like we coach our sellers, we onboard our sellers across Asia Pacific, and we help them grow their skills. So after 7 years, my journey ended about middle of this year, and right now I'm still working in Google as an external partner. So I still coach and facilitate sessions for our sales teams in Asia Pacific, and I'm happy that I'm still back there from time to time. So
one question. So sellers are the agencies that you're referring to?
Sellers are
Marketing
our own sellers.
Okay, your own
so
sellers.
Direct sellers. So most of the people I'm coaching and training are Google sellers. That means our full-time employees.
Right. Okay.
Occasionally, I work with our agency partners, whether they're in channel sales or the big agencies like Haku Hodo, Dentsu, those kind. However, the bulk of my role, my last role, was focusing on our direct sales team.
Okay.
My previous 2 roles, I worked a lot more with our agency partners.
I see. So one thing I wanted to kind of touch on is you mentioned currently you are doing like some consulting gigs, some coaching gigs, and you really help kind of like do a little bit of like executive coaching, right? Almost. And that's something that I wanted to point out because if you would like to kind of engage Daren for, sales training or like mindset, motivation, kind of executive coaching kind of services, be sure to click on the link below. And then, you can kind of ask Daren a little bit more on that. Okay, so now I just wanted to segue a little bit into like the sales side of things, right? So because like handling large enterprise accounts has its own unique challenges as compared to SME accounts. I think I can speak a lot about the SME side of things, right? Because I speak to business owners every day and I'm trying to sell them Google Ads. And that's a different ball game from enterprise accounts. So can you share like what are some of the really the unique challenges that comes with handling enterprise accounts, like what you said, your Nestle, your P&G and all that kind of jazz, right? Like share with us some of the hurdles and how do you overcome them?
When you work with large enterprises, they are big multinational with a lot of divisions, with a lot of stakeholders. So you will feel that decision making seems like a very complex process. Like you need to get alignment from a lot of people. And in big companies, alignment not just with the marketing team, but sometimes with procurement, sometimes with finance. So there's a lot going on there. And a lot of big companies also work with agency partners, like media agencies, creative agencies. So it can come across as very daunting in the beginning. One idea I suggest is just to focus on breaking up a very large, complex problem. Example, let's say it's how do I shift P&G's marketing from 10% to 20% digital? it's a very large complex problem into smaller solvable parts. So you take a company like P&G, there's multiple divisions.
Right.
There's SK2, there's hair care with Pantene and Head and Shoulders. There's laundry, fabric with Tide, Ariel, or Dynamo and Fab. So break it down into smaller sets, like different divisions, and then grow each division at a time.
Right.
Because rather than trying to convince everyone at the same time, which will never happen,
Correct.
everyone gets convinced in a different stage. So example, SK2 is a lot more digital. They're already 100% digital in Singapore. They don't run TV ads. So they are a lot easier to work with on the digital journey from the beginning. And then when you find success in one division, you then go to the other divisions, let's say like hair care, say, hey, Pantene, you can go 100% digital as well.
Right.
Here's a case study, here's an example of our work together with SK2. And you do that journey together with the agency partner. So let's say if P&G's agency partner is MediaCom, work with the MediaCom account team. They may have different account reps for SK2, for hair care, for laundry care as well. So you slowly build the relationships one branch at a time versus trying to tackle the whole tree in the beginning. It's too much.
Right.
So start with that. Another second tip would be, in all these large complex accounts, try to have more than one point of contact as your decision maker, as your influencer.
Because sometimes they might go on annual leave.
Or they may leave the company. So let's say your best friend's the marketing director. The marketing director leaves to join a competitor. You may be stuck. So you don't want to be stuck. That means if let's say you have a great ally in the marketing director, who else is a good second in command? Who else is a good co-decision maker? Not just for the end client side like P&G, but also their agency partners, both the media and creative agencies. Because for large companies, it can be very easy to derail. Your main contact is gone, a new CMO comes in and, okay, let's pause all our plans for 6 months.
I hear you. So one thing I wanted to expand a little bit on is like agency partners that you mentioned, right? Like whether it's Group M, Dentsu, MediaCom and PhD and all these kind of big companies, big agencies, right? Their turnover is typically very high. Like I think most people leave within 6 to 12 months. Partially also because of like poor account management, poor kind of like all these little decisions that really stagnate them in some way. And that's something that I think is worth kind of like, putting in extra effort to diversify your point of contacts, right? So that you don't put all your eggs in one basket. You really very chamshong with one person and then like, that person is gone and then now you're stuck. You're like, oh, I have to rebuild relationships again. So rather than having just that one point of contact, you diversify your point of contacts. Okay, so that's really huge.
Just want to add a nuance to this as well. If you build multiple point of contacts, it's good for your current client. Now, we're also building relationships with people. Our relationships with people last longer than a company. So let's say Jim's the marketing director of P&G. Even when he leaves, maybe he'll probably join someone in the industry like Nestle or GSK or Unilever. So I would probably be managing the account as well, and he becomes a very warm ally in my other client. So the world's a small place, especially if you're focused on a particular category or industry.
Nice. So that really kind of like tell you like at the end of the day, like business is really about people relations. It's not so much of company relations. It's not like, that's why I think there's a very big emphasis on personal branding. Like that's why, a lot of the big personal brands like Elon Musk, like Tony Robbins or, all these like digital marketing gurus, right? Alex Hormozi or Neil Patel and Brian Dean. Like, at the end of the day, all these guys, they really have a very strong personal brand that is very closely attached to their business brand, right? And that's why I think like building a personal brand is really important, which is why like I'm making this video in the first place. That being said, so let's segue, right, a little bit more onto like strategies wise, right? So could you briefly talk about like what are some of the sales techniques that have worked really well? I mean, I know you have shared a little bit on like, okay, being able to walk, the large enterprise accounts through hand in hand, showing them case studies, and of course working with the agency partners to really close the deals. But more importantly, I think what is the nitty gritties of it, like the specifics, like typically how long, let's go step by step. So how long is the sales process typically? And then how does the pitch typically start and typically go? Like, do you just go up to them and say like, hey, I need $1 billion of your marketing budget this year? Like how does that conversation start?
First, on the sales cycle, it depends on the product you're selling.
Yeah.
When you're selling software as a service, like when I was in LinkedIn, you're selling annual contract renewal.
Yeah.
Those sales cycle will be longer, will be 3 to 6 months.
Okay.
For advertising campaigns, when you sell ads, it also depends. If you're prospecting something in market now, like, okay, tomorrow, Halloween campaign, it could be done in a matter of days or weeks. If you are doing something more long term, like you're planning a P&G, the next Olympics campaign, that could be a pitch that lasts up to a year as they do a lot of planning. It also depends on the size of the ask. If you're asking for $50,000, can get it done this week. If you're asking for $10 million, that's usually a 1 year pitch.
Yeah.
It's a longer journey.
Correct.
For those big flagship campaigns like Olympic, or let's say the new MacBook launch for Apple, for instance, right? Tuesday, tomorrow, you'll find out what happens. Lightning, scary fast event. So those are the nuances that matter. And in advertising sales, we do both short-term tactical and also long-term strategic pitches. The way to approach this is first, the primary anchor is to understand what the customer wants. It's not about your products. It's not about how much money you want. It's what's the customer's business objective. So let's say you go to Nike and you ask them, what do you want? So I want to be the number one sports brand in Singapore. Then you fold up. What does that mean? Okay, today we are 15% market share. Adidas is 18% market share. We need to beat Adidas. So let's say I need to grow another 3% market share. Okay, tell me more. What does this 3% market share mean? And I go, I need to sell another 100,000 sneakers per quarter.
How do they measure the market share they have? Is it just through the stock price? Is that how
Market share would come through research companies like Nielsen,
Okay.
iPower. So
I see.
they come up with research to show market share.
I see.
So there are many sources of market share calculation in these market research companies. So a lot of their media agencies will partner with research companies to do that. So you bring it down to, okay, I need to sell 100,000 sneakers per quarter to beat Adidas, to be number one in Singapore. Then it's very clear. Then you ask them, okay, how much are you willing to pay to get one sneaker sale? So they say,
Acquire
okay,
a customer.
correct. Then you're just working through the value, right?
Yeah.
They'll say, okay, I'm selling a sneaker for $200 on average. My cost price is maybe, say, $80.
Right.
And I'm willing to pay an extra maximum $20 to acquire a sneaker customer.
I see.
That means I'm willing to pay 10% of the revenue I get to acquire a sneaker because that's my acceptable profit
Customer
margin.
acquisition cost and then lifetime value of a customer.
So that's an important anchor. So you know, okay, I need to get an extra 100,000 sneakers. I'm willing to pay $20 per sneaker. You now know what they're willing to pay to market because this is their principle.
Right.
So 100,000 times 20, you get basically a $2 million marketing budget. So if the client comes back to you and say, Jim, here's $100,000, help me get my 100,000 sneakers. You'll be like, wait, you told me that you're willing to pay again 10% of the cost of revenue to get the customer. If you give me a marketing budget of 100,000, do you think we can achieve your objective of being number one this quarter?
Correct.
So that's how I approach it.
Ah.
We anchor it on the customer's business objective versus, Jim, here's a budget of 500,000,
I hear you.
hit my number.
I hear
But
you.
then where's this 500,000 coming from? It's not anchored on any principle. And they could change it anytime. They could say, oh, sorry, I got budget cut. Actually, the budget's only 350K.
Yeah.
But then the objective is still the same.
Correct.
So always anchor it on what's the customer's primary objective, their ROI calculation, and work through that. So that every decision we make is principle based versus tactical budget based.
So this is something that I wanted to kind of elaborate, right? Which is like always begin with the end in mind, right?
right.
And then when you have the end in mind, then we work the numbers backwards,
Yes.
right? We kind of understand what's the customer acquisition cost, what's your average order value, what's your lifetime value, what's your payback period, and really applying these mechanics that an SME business does, but we apply it to a large enterprise account, right? Because large enterprise account, typically their customer acquisition cost is low because the branding is there, the distribution channels are there, and they typically have retail stores also, and that really lowers the customer acquisition cost, but they have fixed overheads. They have your rental, they have your, staff costs and all that kind of stuff. Okay, so I don't want to take up too much of your time. So let's segue a little bit into kind of the second last segment. So second last segment is like, in your experience, right? How important is building trust and rapport in sales, especially when dealing with large enterprises? Because I know for SME accounts, like, it's easy because like typically as long as you understand the customer's problem better than they can understand it themselves, they'll buy, right? But for large enterprises, like what you mentioned earlier, there's a lot of bureaucracy, there's a lot of red tape, there's a lot of stakeholders involved. So how important really is building trust and rapport in closing all these large enterprise accounts?
There are some nuances. If you're selling in Southeast Asia, the personal relationships are very important. Most C-level, they actually communicate to you more on WhatsApp than over email.
Wow.
So there's a strong overlap between personal and business relationships in markets like Southeast Asia. If you're working with customers in Australia or in North America,
Which I'm about to.
or in Europe, the culture is a bit different. It can be more arm's length at the beginning, and people are more comfortable with it, they may not want to have a personal relationship with you. Not because they don't like you, but it's just a philosophy. So I think understand the market nuances matter. The other thing is if you're working in a large enterprise, sometimes they may have global policies that you cannot change. So let's say they say, globally, we've appointed this company as our media agency, full stop. Or globally, our total share of spend on Google ads is 10% or 15%, full stop. Cannot be more, cannot be less. The global chief, like a media officer, has already made a global call. And some companies are centrally controlled.
It's a very top-down approach, right?
Some companies. But then there are also some companies like Nestle which are very country-driven. That means every country makes their own call.
I see.
So those nuances are important to understand. While the relationships are important, what is the structure we're dealing with? What is the reality we're dealing with?
I see.
Every company with different structure, different silos, different principles, and also different time horizons as well. If the company is very high turnover, the personal relationships may not bear as much fruit as a company where people are there for many, many years.
So really understanding company culture in all these different large enterprise accounts, how do they work?
Yes.
Their stakeholders involved. Are they country driven? Are they like regionally driven? I think all these are the nuances that you.
And another one is also your category of customer. In the world of advertising sales, you got brand customers. So let's say like P&G, and you've got performance customers. Performance marketing customers be like Booking.com, Agoda, Singapore Airlines. For performance
The agencies,
customers,
the travel agencies.
yeah, that means they only care about results. Or let's say your customer is Shopee or Lazada. For those, the primary anchor is your ROI, not how much I like you. They may not even see you the entire year, but if you give them the ROI, they will spend with you.
Okay.
So I think performance customers are more straightforward in good and bad ways, depending on how you see it.
Yeah. I actually wanted to like touch a bit on this because like I have clients, right, where I don't even see them like face to face for like one whole year, and they still, pay me the monthly retainer. Because like, and these are the best clients, right? To me, right? Because it's like super low maintenance, but you show results.
Yes.
It's like every day if you flood them with like, leads, 4 to 5 leads every month, every single day, and then like there's nothing to complain. It's like, guys, this is the result, man, and that's really what they're buying. Like, I think most people misunderstand this, right? They think that it's about la copy with the client every day or something like that's important, don't get me wrong. I'm saying like there's a pyramid of how you want to do things, right? Like at the top of the pyramid is really getting results,
Yes.
and then subsequently what's below results is what I often like to talk about is relationships, and then subsequently after the relationship is what I call the resolution, which is like what are you doing to refine the campaign? What are you doing to kind of like improve the the cost per click, the customer acquisition cost, push up their AOV, push up their LTV, and being that strategic advisor to kind of add as much value on the value ladder, the value pyramid, so that they will be continue to engage your continue to buy more Google ads next time they see you.
That's right. The way you strengthen all of this is by being a partner to your customer, because results can also be subjective.
Correct.
Or they go, Jim, last quarter our ROI or TROAS was better. Why is it worse now? You're doing a worse job. That's the customer's perception.
Correct.
As a partner, we earn the right to challenge the customer and go, you know what, Team Nike, Adidas just reduced the price of the sneakers by 30%. So it's a product challenge.
Correct.
No matter how good our marketing is, your competitor's product is now down lower price. It is like you're working in Ford as a customer and Tesla just reduced the price of the Model 3 and Model Y. No matter how good your marketing is for Ford, they are the 4 P's of marketing: product, price, place, and promotion. And so I think the best sellers are challengers to help our customers achieve their goals. We don't just take orders, we challenge respectfully.
Correct.
We earn a co-equal place with them. Doesn't matter whether they're CMO, a VP of marketing, a GM of a company. We're there because we're there to help them, not to serve them.
Yeah, Daren, I like that you pointed this out because like this is something that I work very actively on with all my clients. Like I really try my best to go out there and do as much research for them, really look at a very macro perspective, having that macro lens to tell the customer that, hey, at the end of the day, like, what is your offer? Right? If your offer is the same offer as every single one else, the price points are the same, there are no guarantees, there's no risk reversal, there's no good customer support, there's no 24/7 customer support, and all these unique selling propositions that really set you apart from your competitors, then why should anyone buy from you? You know what I mean? Like, at the end of the day, like, it's about looking at the whole macro perspective of your business rather than just microscoping it to the media buying side of things,
That's
the
right.
copywriting side of things, the landing page side of things. Like all these are shiny objects, right? Like people like look at, oh, what's the best Google Ads channel that I should be using? Should I use like Google Search? Should I use Google Video? Should I use PMax campaigns? Should I like turn on like TROS 270% and then let the machine learning do the algorithm? And I mean, all these things are important, don't get me wrong, but I think what's even more important is the macro perspective side of things, really being able to understand the market and being a student of markets rather than being a student of media buying or the microscopic side of things. Being a student of markets and people, right? Understanding how markets work, understanding how people react, understand people's buying behavior, understand how much what ticks them. What makes them want to take out their credit card and say, I'm going to place an order with your business today? I think that's the psychology that, we're really trying to drive at and really looking at things from a macro perspective. Okay, so last question.
Yes.
I think this one is, you can choose, may or may not want to answer this, right? Because I don't know whether you're allowed to, but I would reckon you probably are, okay? So in terms of your whole career, I'm not saying just Google alone, by the way. I'm saying whole career. Like what would you estimate is a conservative estimate of the total amount of revenue that you have sold for all these companies collectively so far, like a ballpark figure? Yeah. Don't give the exact absolute figure, obviously. So like a ballpark figure, like roughly.
A ballpark figure will be around 100 million. Now,
Okay.
There's a bit of flavor and nuance there.
Yeah.
There are some roles where I'm the individual seller. Usually these are hunting roles or SMB roles.
Sure.
There are some roles where I'm leading a cross-functional team to sell. These are usually in enterprise sales roles. So normally in enterprise sales, you're not the only one selling to the customer. So if I was an industry manager, so I was leading the C-level relationships, we also have account managers, campaign managers to help with tactics, with implementation, with execution, with best practice. We have some product specialists as well to support on different areas like search, video, and display. We've got insights managers that gives the right insights on the category for our customers. We have our programmatic team that helps our customers buy programmatically on, let's say, like Google Marketing Platform.
Yeah.
So there is a cross-functional team usually for enterprise selling. So I cannot say that I'm the only one who generated revenue.
Sure.
So that's the nuance.
Sure.
Of course, the big revenue numbers will normally come from enterprise sales, but that's usually a group effort.
Correct. It's a team effort to go and do the pitching, to do the follow-up, to do the sales process, to be part of that kind of stakeholders meeting of like, being able to convince 10 people on the board, like why they should put their money down, right? So yeah, I understand that nuance, okay, but thanks for brainstorming these numbers so that I can put it on the headline of the video and then, yeah, at the end of the day, it's all about CTR percentage, okay, guys? Like, you really need to put a very, like, high keyword search volume, using Google Keyword Planner and then like putting that stepping that title on the video, right? And then getting the CTR, okay, to be high. Okay, so be sure to use numbers in all your YouTube titles also, okay? And not just YouTube titles, even landing page titles, meta titles, title tags on your, SEO, your website, and then like even on the landing page headline for your Google Ads, okay, keep in mind. Okay, so thank you so much for doing this, Daren. Really appreciate it.
Welcome.
I'm sure our paths will cross again, whether it's you coming to Perth for a visit or me coming back to Singapore again, and sharing my experience of a Tesla Model 3 long range. Yeah, I mean, obviously you guys can tell this is a Model 3 that I'm trying to sell, since I'm moving to Australia permanently. So yeah, that's it for this video. Thank you so much, Daren. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
See you guys in the next one. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe for more videos just like this one. If you are keen on growing your business, you want to do more sales, you want to get more customers, like, comment, subscribe, and we'll see you in the next one.
Thank you, Jim, and shout out to our camera woman, Catherine.
That's my wife.
For today's episode.
That's my wife. Okay, cue the preface here. Okay.